make your way to Gate 1 upon arrival. Please do not leave your...
That by far did not go to plan, but at least it looks like we've made it out in one piece. We can only hope that our squad members are having the same luck that we are tonight. Speaking of, we're going to need to quickly find some shelter. God only knows what lurks on this planet when the sun goes down. There appears to be a cave in the distance. It wasn't exactly ideal, but it was better than sleeping out in the rain exposed. There was a pale blue light at the end of the cave. Looks to be fluorescent fungus. Next to some poor sap who doesn't appear to have been near as lucky as we were. At the moment, though, we have more important things to deal with. This cave seems secure enough. It'd be nice to take the helmet off her. Just a moment. Get some fresh air. That is so much better. For now, I need to try to get some shut-eye. Once the storm passes in the morning, I'll try to regroup with the others. Well, that wasn't exactly the best sleep of my life. Looks like the storm is fully passed though. I should be able to use my transponder now to track my squad members. Let's see. Extremely damaged, but it still appears to be functioning properly. Looks like I'll need to head northwest to find the Corporal's pod. Ox, old boy, I hope you've got your walking shoes on. I have a feeling this is going to take a very long time. Let's see. It shouldn't be too much. I believe that may be it there in the distance. I just hope that the Corporal's alright. The pod still appears to be closed but damaged. Let's see. I guess maybe I could... Thankfully, Sergeant Cole and Corporal Grimm had made it out of their pods without a scratch as well and had already regrouped with one another. And of course, as you saw, they discovered me not a moment too soon, I might add, before my hinge-head friend came back for seconds. I could have taken him though, you know. Probably. Now that the three of us have finally reunited after landing on the planet though, we're going to need to set up a temporary base of operations. We're going to need to work to set up power as well as a comms console. Unfortunately, the mobile comms console in Sergeant Cole's pod was destroyed upon impact with the planet. And as you can see, there's plenty of great spots in this desolate, barren, polluted wasteland. So I suppose with that being said, there's really nothing left for us to do but get to work on a base. Now of course, we want our top secret mission on this planet to be as discreet as possible, so we're going to build our base within this small mountain. The idea, of course, being that it's just going to look like a normal mountain on the outside, not a hollow mountain where 3 ODSTs are staying. The only issue with that being, of course, it's going to be extremely difficult to mine through this rock with the limited tools that we've been provided by the UNSC, but we'll make it work. We always do. For our first night at the base, Private Ox would actually sleep just outside the doorway in case something went bump in the night. Thankfully though, nothing ever did. The very next day though, of course, for basically the entire day, we would continue the exhausting and back-breaking work of digging throughout this hill. Now, of course, as we mentioned, we are trying to keep a bit of a low profile. However, Sergeant Cole decided to tear down some of these stone runes, that way we would have blocks to actually build a door. A stone door is more secure secure of course, but it would also blend in much better with the rock of the mountain, thus of course making it much harder to detect the fact that there is indeed a base here, but this would also give us peace of mind. We would also try to stick with the idea of using the stone we had available under the hill, but that does mean that we're going to need to create a stone cutting bench, which does require wood. After cutting down several trees, we would end up building said bench so that we could begin processing all the marble chunks that we had dug out under the mountain and begin turning them into marble blocks, making us and our base somewhat self-sufficient for the most part. Obviously, of course, this was nothing but a drop in a very, very large bucket of all the work that we had to do, but it was a bit of a start. At least now we wouldn't have to lie on the floor at night, and we had some semi-decent places to lay our weary heads. The very next day, we began to realize that keeping a low profile probably means that we shouldn't have a stinky Sangheli carcass rotting in front of the base. But of course, with that being said, any disturbed ground where we would try to bury him in a grave, there would also be some suspicions raised. So we decided to take the rotting Sangheli carcass to some nearby ruins where there was already a sarcophagus from long ago. Hidden in plain sight. Later on in the evening, as Sergeant Cole was cutting up more marble chunks into marble blocks, Private Ox and Corporal Grimm came down to discuss them going out and hunting, as they were running very low on packaged survival meals and they were needing some protein in their diet. The sergeant of course granted this request, but requested that they keep a very low profile as to not be found out. We of course didn't want to compromise the mission in any way, shape, or form, and then the two of them began to venture out into the wilderness looking for big game. Grimm appeared to tag the elk, but the massive animal survived the shot and took off running into this cave. And unfortunately, our only option is going to be to go into the cave after it, as we couldn't risk firing another shot from the sniper rifle and exposing ourselves, compromising the mission. The cave was littered with blood and animal carcasses. It was very possible that there was a predator in here. Finally, after much walking though, we stumbled upon the corpse of the elk that we had shot, but it appeared that it was dead from several gash marks to the side. And then we saw it. A massive, disgusting, deformed creature. It began chasing us all throughout the cave. After landing several shots on the monster, it began to run back into the cave where it came from. Thankfully, our injuries were non-life threatening, but it did get many hits in on us. However, thankfully, the worst injury of all to us was possibly to our egos and maybe to our psyche from seeing such a disgusting creature. It mostly just caught us off guard is all. But Grimm would begin healing herself as Ox stood guard, and once that was finally completed, hours later, they finally returned home. Having to walk through the dark, smoggy, polluted landscape knowing that a beast like that was on the loose in the area wasn't very reassuring. But thankfully we had finally returned, and we were greeted by the sergeant, who was wondering where we were and why we hadn't returned with any meat. Of course, we frantically, quickly explained the situation to him, and unfortunately he was not shocked. The intel that we had received about the planet ahead of time talked about monstrous creatures and many unknown threats to the UNSC. Thankfully though, while we were out hunting, the sergeant had acquired the resources that we needed to build a generator. Finally, we would have electricity. And with a power generator as well as electricity, that also means we can finally build some lights, which of course would be much more convenient because up until this point we've been using the built-in night vision sensors in our helmets. Not only had the sergeant acquired the resources to build a power generator, but he had also cut up so much marble block that we could finally build a table and some chairs. It wasn't exactly crucial to the mission, but it could be crucial to our sanity. However, something that was actually indeed crucial to the mission was a comms console, so we wasted no time getting to work on one. With this comms console, we would finally once again be able to speak with our commanding officers that are over this mission, which we desperately needed to do because of how sensitive this mission was. We had very limited intel. So with the comms console built and finally powered up, it was time for us to find out what we're doing here, or who we're killing.